Welcome to another episode of God's Got You podcast. I'm your host, Charis Mayton. I am so glad that you are here. If you're watching, everything looks a little different. I am still by the couch, but the couch is currently covered with stuff because I am 3 weeks out from moving. Like, this is absolutely insane, y'all. How crazy it is to be like moving states again. Like, I've already moved states multiple times. I'm just going back and forth between the same 2 states, but it's even like more crazy that I'm 3 weeks out. And so, but yeah, so by the time this airs, I will have already moved. Maybe I might be, by the time this airs, it will be a few weeks past camp, which I'll get into, but it'll be like right before I move or during. And so, yeah, like it's just been a very crazy time for me in general. Yeah, we just got back from camp and that was absolutely so fun. I realized how much I'm going to miss these kids. I already knew I was going to miss them, but like camp was just even like, it just, I don't know. We had this one thing, it was called a concert of prayer, and we just like spent like 2 hours praying over different things. And it was really cool because I got to pray with my cousins. Doing camp with your family is like a whole nother different, like, I don't know, for me, sweetness and just joy that I was able to experience. But also the girls came, my girls, my 9th grade girls that I've had since 7th grade, they came and they prayed over me because they were praying for church leaders and our sponsors that were there. And so it was really sweet for them to do that. And like the thing is they couldn't pray, so I ended up praying for us. But I was crying. I cried because my cousins made me cry, and then they made me cry. And so it was just really sweet, like realizing that this would be like one of the last times I would be with them. In like a big group setting like this. And so it was definitely difficult, but it was really good. We had a really good speaker. I don't know if you follow him, but Shane Pruitt, he's a great communicator, like one of the best communicators I've heard or seen. And the way, like, I went and talked to him after one thing because I was like, that was probably the best presentation I've ever heard of that topic. And he was like, oh, that's so sweet. Like, he was so like genuine on and off the stage. And then just on his Instagram, like he's just like the same person all around. And so that was really cool to be able to see that, but also like hear what he has to say. And I know he touched a lot of hearts of the kids. And then we also had Lacey Abercrombie come, and she was really good too. I know the girls really liked her having a female voice in there. She was funny. She was really sweet. And just like her opening up about her own struggles. And I was able to go and pray for her after. And so it was really cool to be able to do that and just kind of like, I don't know, be there. But some of the funniest things happened. So one thing when I went to camp, and I didn't really go to a lot of youth camps, but I remember like when I did go like preteen camp, or it was a youth camp, or like, I don't know, like with Young Life at like Crooked Creek or something like that. I didn't really care what I looked like. I cared what I looked like because like boys, obviously. But I didn't bring like my hair dryer and my straightener and my curler and like these girls, oh my gosh, they spent most of their time in the cabin getting ready to go to dinner, and it was humid. Like we were out in East Dallas, getting into East Texas, and so it was like humid, and the rains and everything were happening, and it was so humid there. It was so humid, and these girls, they would like curl their hair, and these girls have like pin straight hair. They curl their hair and they go to dinner and they come back and they're like, my hair is not curled. I'm like, it's humid. Obviously it's not going to hold. Like, why are you doing, and like, I'm sweating. And so my makeup's not staying. I'm like, you were literally at camp. You're at camp. But one of the funniest quotes came from one of my girls, and she was like, we handsome for real, bro. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I literally just sat in the cabin most of the time with the girls, like just them getting ready. I was like, y'all look great. And like, I don't know what shirt to wear. I don't know what shirt. I'm like, it's camp. We're all sweaty. We're all gross. Like, just go as you are. And so that was something that I hadn't necessarily, I guess just times are changing, or I was just one of those girls that never did that in camp, because I don't remember girls like my age doing that either. Like, we would have our makeup, but I was never really into makeup at that point, and so it was just like whatever. But that was really funny. But also there's this, so one of we have like different theme days, and it was really fun. I came up with a lot of ideas, and so I was very proud. But one of the best days was our last day. It was construction day, and so we got helmets for all of the leaders, and so I got a helmet. We got like bright yellow vest for everyone too. It was so fun, honestly. And we had caution tape. I caution taped so many people, like literally. Like I went up to random youth leaders and just like caution taped them, like an actual, like, yeah, it was great. But I caution tape. Oh, what else? Golf carts. We had a little golf cart driving around. That was really fun. I was told that I looked like actual military personnel for our military day because I had like bought these like hiking boots that looked like military boots, and so I had like camo pants, and then we had like a shirt that we went with it. It was great, and I was driving the golf cart and I had one foot off, and someone goes, "You look like actual military personnel." I was like, "Oh my gosh, thank you. That's what I was going for." And so I kind of just lived out my military dreams, even though it wasn't really military. I lived it out for a moment. But yeah, so construction day. And so I wanted all these like kids to sign my helmet because almost like a goodbye, like, oh my gosh, you're leaving. But I wanted to have something to remember them by. So on there I wrote Charis Mayton Sundays 2025 Mount Lebanon. And then I had other people sign it. But the thing is some of the kids who signed it have a running joke. So they found out I was from Colorado, and they had a running joke that I am a drug dealer. And it's like, I'm not a drug dealer. Like, we can't, let's not go and tell your parents this. They told their parents it. And so I had to talk to Rick and Chris, our youth pastors, and be like, hey, this is a joke that they think is hilarious, and they're teenagers, so obviously they're going to think it's funny. I'm not. Like, this is false. And like, I have to preface that for them. Like, they know. But I just felt like I needed to because I was very concerned at one point. And so some of them have put very, high for life, or 420 mode, or it's living in 420 mode, and just other like weed leaves on here. So I will not be wearing this out. And it's really funny because they also have like the gospel presentation on here, and then Milo, God bless Milo, he likes to throw cheese on things and then lick it off, like cars and vans at other trips that he took. And so he drew cheese because he couldn't throw real cheese on there. Oh, it also says I sell drugs. That's great. Someone put that I am their favorite demonic sister, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe wipe that one off. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's Ice Cream Man is on here. I don't know. What happens when you give youth Sharpies and free range of anything, canvas specifically, be careful. That's what I've learned. Being in youth ministry, I love it. Absolutely love it. Be careful. Otherwise you get a helmet like this that you will not be able to wear anywhere else because no one will understand. Yay. But yeah, so that's what's been happening. I am packing. I packed so much today. I packed like a quarter of my kitchen. I'm packing clothes. I'm getting really excited to move, y'all. I am. Like, there's going to be a lot of set changes, but I'm so excited. I have a vision for what I want the new, like, set for the pod is going to look like. And it really depends on the apartment I get and the room I get. But it's going to be amazing. And yeah. Oh, I'm also already listening to Christmas music. I made a playlist last night and I listened to it. So, this is being filmed July something. And I'm already listening to Christmas music. But hey, I'm excited. I'm so excited for the fall. I'm excited to be in Colorado, close to my siblings. I miss my siblings so much. I've been calling my brother, my sister, like every day. My brother's gonna come stay with me. I'm so excited. But yeah, I'm really excited to go. I'm really sad to go, and I hope to be back someday. I really do. Never thought I'd say that I'm gonna miss Brownwood, Texas, but I am. And so I'm just ready to experience fall and like actual cool weather. That sounds so nice. It's been, honestly, Texas hasn't been that bad of a summer, so I'll take it. I will take that. It's been rainy. It's been a little more humid, but that's okay. I'll take a little bit more humidity over like 103 weather. It's like 93, not 103. I will take that any day. But yeah, so there's been just a lot going on. A lot of the just different decisions I'm having to make or like think through, as it's like 3 weeks until I'm there. And I am excited to be back, but I am sad to leave. And just a lot of mixed feelings. I don't really know how to feel right now. I don't know how I should feel. I feel like the way I'm feeling is correct. But yeah, so Anyways, that's everything that's happening in my life currently at the state of this being filmed. Yeah. Oh, and also I had so during camp week, I don't know what happened with my technology, but things did not upload. So the episode uploaded on Spotify, but it didn't upload on YouTube for some reason. And so it looks like I'm skipping weeks, and I did in fact have it done and ready, and things were supposed to be posted on time, but it just didn't happen. Like, they were done and ready. I don't know. Technology can be the death of me sometimes. And I have learned a lot through this process about technology and how to do it and how to operate it. And it's simple when you get there, but getting there is difficult. So thank you for bearing with me. Yeah. It's been a crazy ride these past few days. I'm gonna say weeks. I'm gonna say days, because it's been a few days. Oh, that was another thing. My cabin got COVID. So we got back from camp and I felt awful. Like, I was tired, and obviously I knew I was tired, and I lost my voice the first day of camp. And I was like, okay, this is fine. This is going to be normal. But then it was like gone. Like, I couldn't, like, talking. I had to strain so much. I'm surprised I'm not that raspy right now, but I had to strain so incredibly much. And then, I got it back. And basically I feel like God was like, you need your voice gone for a moment because you're being too much. I was like, that's fair, Jesus. But yeah, I lost my voice, and I got back from camp, and obviously I was tired, and I was tired, and so I slept, and I was in Glen Rose with my grandparents, and it was fun and to hang out with them, and just kind of recuperate a little bit before I have to come back. And my house was a mess. I just didn't really want to be back. And then Sunday rolled around, and it was so hard to get out of bed. And then Monday was harder, and I was just my body was just so fatigued. I didn't feel great. My throat was kind of scratchy, and it wasn't necessarily the fact of oh, I'm sick. It's just I think I'm exhausted. And I think that was part of it. But then Wednesday came around, and my girls were like, oh yeah, we had COVID. And I was like, oh. And they're like, yeah, some of the older girls have it too. I was like, great. So we got COVID at camp. That's why I've been feeling bad. I felt bad because I was at the church, and I'm go in my office, I just closed the door, and I wouldn't come out, and everyone's like, are you okay? And I was I felt awful, and everyone's like, oh, that makes sense. I was like, I didn't know if I was sick, and I didn't really want to expose anybody, but I don't know. So much happened this past week. Honestly, I think I'm wow. And I feel great today. I feel absolutely amazing. I am productive. I was able to get a lot done. It's I don't know. The weather outside is nice. It's sunny, but it's also I don't know. I'm soaking in the last few days that I have, weeks, I guess, of the really warm weather. And so it's really nice to be able to just I don't know, stay home and not see anybody, not talk to anybody, be with my dog, and just do things for the future. That's been so fun. I've been on Pinterest too much too. And it's all about future things. It's not even about stuff that I want right now or I'm planning for right now. It's literally just housing. I've been shopping for houses in places I'd want to live. Why? I'm not going to buy a house anytime soon that I know of. But yeah, I'm okay. Calm down, Charis. So yeah, it's been a ride these past few weeks. And so now that we're all caught up with my life, I guess we'll just jump in. So we are going to continue today in our series called Identity Crisis. And today we're going to be talking about false beliefs. And I think it's kind of funny that we're talking about false beliefs because it goes into what is reality, basically. And something that I learned in my through my formal academic classes, but also just working with youth, you find that the teenage brain doesn't actually necessarily know what reality is. And it's because their brain is developing. So your brain isn't fully developed, or your prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed until you're 25. And that's for anybody. Some parts might develop quicker than others, but the prefrontal cortex is your decision-making part of your brain. And so you're technically not a full adult or fully developed until you're 25 years old. Whether you're male or female, some people say females develop quicker, just different parts of the brain, their amygdala, their the fear, the emotions, all of that's the amygdala, but different parts of your brain develop at certain times. And so women sometimes mature quicker because they are more emotionally minded. But the decision-making part of your brain is not fully developed until you're 25. And so a lot of times teenagers, because their brain is developing so quickly, all parts of it are developing so quickly, they're having so many major hormone changes. There's so many life changes happening. Like the teenage years, I'm going to say like probably 14 to 18 are like crucial years. And it's 4 years. It seems a lot longer, but it's 4 years of just crazy change in your body, in the world. And so a lot of times when that's happening, the brain is at a slower processing rate because the brain can put more energy into forming other parts of it. It doesn't necessarily put it into the prefrontal cortex. And so it doesn't see things how it really is. And so I know parents will get so frustrated. And I've walked with my mom through this of they're twisting my words or they don't understand. And it's like, the thing is they're not, that they are saying what they actually perceive it as and what they feel is reality. And we know that's not true. We know like, oh, I didn't mean it that way, or I didn't want them, like they took it and they heard it this way. It's like, because that's actually what they heard. And sometimes it just takes longer. Like you can't get onto them as quick like that because it takes longer for them to process. Because there's been times where Micaiah, my sister, she'll come up to me and she's like, oh, mom just said blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay. And we take some time to process. And she goes, actually, no, mom did mean it this way. I was like, okay. And so it just takes longer time for them to process it and to fully grasp what it is. And that's the thing I love about teenagers is because you just kind of get to walk with them and they figure it out eventually. You just got to be really patient with them. And I think it's just like so fitting that I'm talking about false beliefs today and knowing the psychology behind how the brain works, especially in the teenage years. And teenagers are so, I want to say they are easily influenced, which is true. But that's also because their brain is developing. And so the older you get, the less easily influenced you are, but you can still be extremely influenced, especially by people that are so close to you. It might not necessarily be through social media or celebrities or influencers or anything like that, but like your peers or your church or your family or your neighbor, like people that are more like in your intimate life every day than what's online. And I think that is just like, it just like tips the iceberg. It's just the tip of the iceberg. That's the saying. It's just the tip of the iceberg into what it actually means to what is a false belief and like how they actually form in our brain. I know that last week with lies, we talked about it. It was more of a spiritual thing. And it's just because of how the world and the devil operate. And so I know that that is a more spiritual thing, but this is definitely going to be on a whole like more physical, psychological level for this one, but we're going to be able to combat it with biblical truths. Because I think false beliefs, like we all experience wounds. That's something we're all going to experience and no one's ever going to get over. Honest, like we can get over wounds, but like we're never going to be able to cut that out fully in our world. And so it's going to be really like, when we get into lies, that can go into wounds, but it's just the next step of like, okay, we have these wounds and we're more susceptible to lies because we're like broken down a little bit. But if we start believing the lies, that's when we get false beliefs. So I did some research about false beliefs and how that really just comes about. And I'll link what I looked up, some of the things that I looked up. And now, this is going to go along with science and like scientific research. And I want to preface that science isn't bad. We just have to be careful of what we believe about it. I think science is great. We learn about our bodies. We learn about how the way the world works. Like psychology is a science. It's an applied science and it's always changing because people are changing. And so, there's a lot of things with science that we were like, oh, if science is bad, like as Christians, we're like, science tells about evolution, like science is bad. It's like, okay, but science isn't bad. Sometimes the way in which they come about it can be, and sometimes what they're pushing can be. But science in itself, actually, like, I feel like is a God-given thing of like, we get to learn about the way in which the world works. And I think science just continues to prove the complexity of who God is and how he created things. Like the more I learn about the brain and how human nature is, it's insane. And the more I learn about just like the actual anatomy and the way in which the body works is insane. But then when you learn about the world or the constellations or whatever else, I think it just shows the complexity of God and that he took his time. We read it, it's like day one, snapped his fingers, boom, light. But the more we look into it, there's so much more of a purpose and there's intention behind it. And I think science just continues to prove how great our God is. We don't need to be adverse to science. We just need to, I don't know, again, change the mindset just a little bit. So, false beliefs. I think false beliefs come when we believe the lies so deeply and we start to act on them. And that's when we've entered into this next step of false beliefs. But the thing is like, okay, what exactly is a false belief? According to the American Psychological Association, love them, they say a false belief is a mental proposition that is asserted with high confidence but lacks basis in reality. So it's almost like how a teenager will snap back at their parent or some authority figure and being like, you're just coming at me, I'm the worst kid ever, you're saying this. And we feel like it's them twisting their words, but in reality, that's just their mental proposition. And so as humans, as adults, we can still have these false beliefs. We can have a mental proposition and assert it with such high confidence, but it lacks basis in reality. And I feel like this is kind of like a sticky topic to get into about part of that. But I think a lot of it can come back to, and again, Shane Pruitt put it this way, with the whole pride community and the LGBTQ. And I want to, I feel like when we get in this topic, it's like very like polar opposites, and it's like we can't accept them or love them, but it's like, oh, you have to. And so I think we get into too much of that. But the way in which Shane Pruitt put it is they put that as their identity, but that's not their identity. That's who they label themselves as. And that's where we get confused. It's like, where's the identity lie? And that's why I'm doing this. And I even talked to Shane about it, and it was just really cool to be able to see like almost change the wording as they're labeling themselves out that instead of identifying with that, because that's not where their identity lies. Their identity is in Jesus. They just might not have they haven't necessarily found that yet. And so I think when we talk about the basis in reality, I feel like a very big thing that we establish, that science has established, is that there's two genders. There's male and there's female, but there's so many people out there who assert with high confidence that there's multiple genders, and or like there's more than two or whatever. And I know that can be like a really sticky subject, but that's what science has told us, is that there's male or female. And the way in which you label yourself later in life doesn't necessarily change that, whether we want it to or not. Like, it's not based in reality, and it's just asserted with high confidence. It's a false belief. It's a lie that we've started to believe that's probably extended from a wound. And we can work our way back up instead of working our way down. And there's so many other different examples that I could use. But I feel like that's one that's so prevalent in today's world that it's like we put so much on it and we don't necessarily know how to go about it. And it's just because it's like talking with a teenager. It's like, okay, you have to give them more time to process it, and you have to allow them to come to that conclusion instead of forcing it onto them. We can't force anything on anybody. And I think that's where a lot of things go wrong when we get onto that topic. And that's when false beliefs like start to headbutt, and we become so delusional in our own things of like, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. And we start to believe that everything that person says is wrong, whether it is or not, no matter their political beliefs, no matter their like marital status, no matter their sexual orientation, like no matter, we start to believe like just because that person said something wrong, that's where we get like, then we are out of like basis of reality of like everything they say is wrong, everything they say is bad, and we don't need to believe it, and they need to believe us. And that's the strife that we talk about. That is the division that we experience in our world today. Is I feel like a lot of it is starting from false beliefs. And yeah, I'm just going to leave that there because I feel like if I get too into it, then we won't have time for everything else. When I was looking at false beliefs and how does that affect us as a person? How does that affect the truth? Because a false belief is clearly something that's not true. And I wanted to really look into like the false belief versus truth debate, even though we might not necessarily think that there is a debate out there, but there is. And a lot of times it is between science and religion, and or just in general, like, do we want to have things sugar coated or do we want the truth? And so I looked up just like false beliefs. Like, it was a very basic search, but something came up that it was a TED Talk, and the title of the TED Talk was, "What if false beliefs make us happy?" And I was like, whoa, okay, like, this is interesting. And so I looked at it, and it's a guy, I can't say his name. He is not American. I don't know. I feel like he's a Northern European, maybe like Swedish. I don't know. Maybe German, honestly. Anyways, doesn't matter. But he is a professor, and he is, I don't know if he's a sociologist or he's some type of researcher in human studies. So psychology, sociology, maybe even anthropology. He does a little bit of it all. But one of the things that he talked about is that the truth can hurt. So is it reasonable to live in a false reality? And he came out from the bat saying, like, the truth hurts. Like, the truth is something that a lot of people want, but a lot of people don't want to hear. They want the truth, but they don't want to hear it. Which kind of sounds like an oxymoron, but it's literally just, we want it to be truthful, but we want it to be like our own truth. We want, like, and that's not truth though. We want it to be our way. We want, and sometimes we don't want to hear it because it hurts and it calls us out, or it's painful, or we don't want to say it because it's going to hurt someone. It's going to hurt the relationship. It's going to hurt whatever. And so we don't want that. And so is it reasonable to live in a false reality? Like, is that even a thing that we can do as humans? And is it beneficial? And he came out and he was talking about how we want, like, what is this debate basically? And he goes, we hate fake news. We love conspiracy theories, but we don't like alternative facts because there is only one truth. Now this dude is not a Christian at all. I don't think so. Based on what I've researched, he's not a Christian. Based on how we hate fake news, we don't like to be lied to. We like the news to be like, what is, like, just give it the facts to us. Like, just give us the facts. Like, we don't need all of this plushy fluff, whatever. Just give us the facts. We don't care. Like, at least for me, I'm like, okay, I just want to know what's happening. I don't care about the politics of it. I don't care about whatever. Just give me what is happening in the world. What did this person say? Don't analyze it. Just, what did the person say? And then it's like, okay, then if I really want to look into it, I can look into it and you can research it and, like, whatever. There's going to be opinions out there. We hate fake news. We don't like being lied to, especially on, like, a nationwide, worldly, public platform. We love conspiracy theories. Oh my gosh, one of my favorite conspiracy theories is just, I like to one-up them. Like, a little bit. It's just like, oh, I believe, like, the moon landing was fake. I'm like, oh, you believe in the moon? I'm pretty sure everyone's seen, like, a TikTok like that. But, like, I love to just one-up them, and people are like, oh yeah, like, at Area 51, like, there's aliens. I'm like, we are in Area 51. They're like, what? And I'm like, yeah. And so I love conspiracy theories. We love it because it, like, allows us, our mind to wander, but we also know that things aren't true. And one of my favorite things too is because I used to live in Colorado, we would fly out of Denver all the time, and everyone knows about the Denver airport. And it's really, really funny because I legitimately thought, like, the little, like, 3-letter acronym for Denver, the Denver airport, is DIA. I literally thought it was Denver International Airport. It's DEN. I didn't know that until I looked it up recently because I was like, what the heck? But no, it's DEN. And so something that I believe for a long time, I was like, it's DIA. And I was like, it's not DIA. And so there's just, like, things like that. We love it because it allows our mind to wander, but it's also, like, probably not true. Like, there's some people who truly believe that stuff, but it's like, okay, I like the line of thought because it can be true, but we have a deep feeling that it's probably not. And then we don't like alternative facts because there's one truth. When we have alternative facts where it's like, oh, this or that, and or theories or anything like that, like those are hard to talk about, and those are what make people upset because we know that there's only one truth and we don't know what side it is, especially with a theory, is because it's just a theory. It's not proven. So then he goes into, we choose comforting lies over unpleasant truths. And I was like, yeah, lies comfort us because it helps us believe what we want to believe. And even though we know like it's not true, we don't want to hear the truth because it's unpleasant. We don't want to live in reality. And I'm like, yeah, that's why there's so many shows. Like, I know for a long time, like I would daydream and live in like shows. And like, there were times in my life to where the only way I could escape was through like TV or entertainment in a way. And then I would have like these scenarios, and probably sound like absolutely insane right now, but would have these like scenarios that I would run through and be able to just like drift off into when I didn't want to live in reality in that moment. And it was with the characters I loved. And there were times where I would like grieve characters when they died out of shows or movies or whatever, because it literally felt like they were one of my family members or someone that I loved dearly. And it would hurt. Like I would bawl my eyes out. I still cry when some characters I love die, but it's not like I'm having to go through the grieving process because I know it's not real. But then he gave some he gave some statistics, and he goes, everyone believes they're above average. What do you mean? I am above average. And he was talking about how people are like, it's not gonna happen to you, or it's not gonna happen to me. Like they're gonna get in a car crash if they drink and drive, but I'm not. I'm a better driver than them. I'm better. And we believe that we're above average, but it's like we're not above average. If everyone's above average, then we're all average. And so we start elevating ourselves to a point where we believe it. And that's another false belief. We believe these like little aspects of it, and we just cannot get down. We cannot humble ourselves. That's where pride comes in. And so if no one can be above average, we have to like really like, what is reality? We cannot continue to live because it is hurting people, which he goes into of saying positive illusions, which can be like, there are things like false beliefs and stuff that I feel like we believe are okay. I know parents will like have like little lies that they tell their kids that their kids like really believe, but sometimes it keeps them safe. It's like it's there, and it's not necessarily like a bad thing, but it keeps them safe. But it can hurt them because it's like when you find out that turning on the light in the car is not illegal. Like is when you're driving at night. Like it's okay to, yeah. And so it later in life it can hurt them, but like these things are like, they're positive illusions. And sometimes the way in which we live and it helps us escape and it helps us get to a better place, that's a positive thing. And so that's what when I use positive illusions, that's what he's talking about. He goes, positive illusions or false beliefs have unforeseen side effects that affect not only ourselves but others, which goes back to texting while driving or driving under the influence, because it's not going to happen to us. I can go to that scary parking lot. I can go down that alley. I can drive late at night. I can do this on myself. I can whatever, because it's not going to happen to me. But the reality is it could. And we never think it's going to happen to us until it does. And I know for me, there was a time when I was in Jacksonville where I was like, it was kind of like, okay, Jacksonville, Texas is kind of like not a good area. Love that place. Don't know why, because there's nothing like really positive about it. Like the cartel is there. People go missing all the time. Like the missing wall in Walmart is absolutely insane. People go missing there all the time, but we believe it, like it's not going to happen to us until you're at a gas station one night and a guy follows you to your car and tries to get in the passenger door or passenger side. Like that happened to me. It was the most terrifying thing. And ever since then, I was like, okay, it can happen to me. It can happen to me. Being followed in Athens. Like there were times where I'm like, oh my gosh, this does happen. And it will happen to me no matter how tall or how big you are, like whatever. And I'm not a small human. And I just thought because of that, it wouldn't happen to me. But the reality is it will. And so because I experienced it, it opened my eyes. I'm like, okay, I actually have to pay better attention. I can't just like blow it off and expect nothing to happen, because we live in a corrupted world that lies to us and we believe those lies. And that's when we get hurt. But he ends his talk with science says truth is better. Because he's like, well, so what's better? Living in a false reality, does it make us happy? Yes. But what is better? And he goes, he even says, science says truth is better. Which I think is so funny, because as a Christian, what I believe is true is I believe the Bible. And I believe that like Jesus existed. I believe that like there is no way that the Bible doesn't contradict itself at all. People are like, the Bible is true because of that. And science is telling me that truth is better, and I believe the Bible is truth. And so that's where I'm like, okay, we live in this thing. We believe that science is, I feel like that, like the whole like science versus religion debate is its own false belief of like science is bad but religion isn't. And it's like, no, like they can intertwine, they can work together. We just have to be willing to see that and be willing to accept the answers of that. And so that like false beliefs, they can make us happy, but in reality, truth is better, and that is what science says. That's also what the Bible says, but science also confirms that in our own physical world, which I think is just crazy. So then I got into, I was like, okay, great. So we know that truth is always better. So if truth is better, how are we going to make sure that what we're looking at is like actually true? Like, how do we combat false beliefs? And so this is I found an article, again, not a Christian, I don't believe, not religious, or maybe spiritual, but not in like, I don't know, a Jesus way. And so the title, or I can't remember, I didn't write the title fully down because it was a long title, but it's basically identifying false beliefs and how to overcome them. I was like, okay, cool. And so this lady, again, another researcher, works in the human science field. And she goes, we adopt what our parents or friends or our community believes, usually through emotional connections is things that we believe. We validate and elevate them. They feel true even if they aren't. That's how she sums up what a false belief is. And how we get them is there's usually an emotional connection with it. I know that there's times just like, and these can be very negative. She gets into the negative false beliefs of just like hearing something all the time, you start to believe it. Or someone really close to says something really mean and you like believe it. Or the judging, like when there is an emotional connection to it, a lot of times we start to believe it because our emotions are connected to it, not our prefrontal cortex, our decision making, our rationale. We don't necessarily see that as false, we see it as truth, because we're trusting and because of the emotional connection with it. So she gave a list of, and I'm just going to read it because I don't necessarily, oh goodness. She gave and I'm going to link the article, and the article has this chart that I'm going to read, but it's really good, and it talks about, like, it gets into the core beliefs and the superego. So the superego is a part of your brain. Freud came up with it, and it's like the things that we tell ourselves, like subconsciously, to help that core belief. And so the first one that she came up with is I am not capable. And a lot of these are I am statements, which a lot of times therapists will use in therapy of like, I know when I went through EMDR, Melissa used, and I like, how do you feel about this? Or like, what are things? And it's like, I am this. And then you change it to a positive. And so it's I am statements, because when we use I am statements, those are things that we truly believe about ourselves. And so the core belief, I am not capable, the superego says, I can't do things by myself. I don't have it in me. I have to get help in order to accomplish things. I need something outside of me. Then parts behavior, so the way in which we respond to that core belief turns into, I have to look for someone to help me. I don't have enough X, which can be money, time, knowledge, health. I'm not allowed to act capable or to look like I can do things on my own. I have to act incapable to get my needs met. And so even though we know we can be capable, we feel like we're not capable, and so we have to act incapable for people to help us. We feel like we always need someone to help us, and this is just like a short list of different things that can be a possibility of a false belief. The second one, which I think is really interesting that she puts this in a minute. She goes, I am not good enough. And then in parentheses, she says, often a father/approval wound. I was like, oh, interesting. We just talked about wounds. And so this I don't know the big category, but I guess this happens with a certain approval or even like a father figure, which I don't necessarily might not be a father figure, but just a male leadership figure in our life. That's the core belief of I am not good enough. And she says, the superego says, I need to be successful to be good enough. I need others to approve of my creations. I can't enjoy life until I'm really good at X, Y, and Z. I won't be lovable until I'm good at those things. And she says the parts behavior is, and this is all research-based too, so it's not just like this is what her belief is, but it's research-based. Large focus on achievements, accomplishments, validation from the work you do. So a lot of times we'll be like, I want people to see my work, but not me. I want them to see my art, but not me. I want my work, my skill, my talent seen, but not me. And then it turns to, I want to be admired. And so a lot of this, I feel like, can be people pleasing, or when we like people who are very academically validated or things like that. It's like, we need people to approve of what we do. We need people to see it and be like, that is good. And it's not necessarily the fact of like they see you and say that it's good. It's they see the work and they say that is good. And in our minds, we take that as, oh, we are good now. We need the validation. So that is the core belief of I am not good enough. And I think this is a really good list because I know that I have felt every single one of these things a few years ago. And I went through this, and I remember literally being in therapy at Crossroads and being like saying some of these things. And so it's like, okay, getting out of this false belief is possible. And we'll get to that in a moment. So I want y'all to know that I'm not just saying this because it's like, oh yeah, these are really good. It's like, because I also resonate with these on a whole nother level. The third one is I am not worthy. I will only be rewarded or wanted if I do enough good. If I don't fix myself, I am not worthy of love, health, etc. Themes can be deserving, rewards, and salvation. And so the parts behavior is, if I can fix myself in this way, I'll be worthy of my health, of love, of a good job. If I do good in the world, I'll be rewarded with what I want. If they don't give me the reward that I deserve, I'll resent them. And so I feel like a lot of times we put our worth in such material things and in people, and they are always going to fail us, and they're always going to hurt us. And so we always are going to feel like we are not worthy of it. And it's just going to this cycle, and it's like, okay, I just have to be better. I just have to be better. And we're just constantly trying to get better, and we never succeed because we are human and we fail. And I think this is a core belief so many people deal with, especially with social media nowadays, of and I think that I'm not good enough and I'm not worthy is our views and our followers and our likes. And it's like, oh my gosh, I'm not good enough. People don't like this. And it's like, okay, but one person liked it. One person. Who, the odds of one person liking it, that's better than nobody. So I think that I am not worthy comes so much more in today's life and in our lives and what we see, and one of the beliefs that we truly have, because it's just I don't even know how to describe it. It's just so prevalent because of the technology and how we are in this world today. So another one she has is, I don't belong. I will get rejected. I will never fit in, so don't even try. Be a nonconformist. That was the superego. The parts behavior is, I'm being abandoned. They don't want me. I knew they would reject me. I will not create anything so that my creations won't be rejected. I'm going to stay out of relationships so they don't reject me. Always trying to fit in. The reverse can happen here as well to prove the belief true. I'll be the opposite of what they want because they won't accept me anyway, and I'll never belong to the tribe anyway. I'm a rebel. I'm an outcast. I'm the outlier always. And so when we feel like we don't belong, we truly believe that we don't belong, we just like sit in this freeze moment of, I can't do anything. I'm not going to do anything because I'm afraid of rejection. Oh, rejection wound probably comes from that. I just don't want to do it. I'm not going to do it because I'm afraid of what's going to happen. And so we sit there and we never accomplish anything, and people constantly like just pound like you're not doing anything. And so you can't, if you're not putting yourself out there, you're not going to find a group to belong in. And so you just continue to feed that belief of, I'm an outlier, I don't belong, all this. And so we like feed ourselves into this belief in order for it to be true. The last one that she has is, I need to be perfect. In parentheses, she put, trying to resolve feelings of chaos/control, which this one hit home for me. And the superego is, I am broken. I can fix myself if I try hard enough. False hope. There is a right way and a wrong way. Don't do anything the wrong way. This is the right way. And if I do it correctly, I'll fix myself. If I control this and organize this just right, I'll fix this. I cannot go do what I really love because I have to fix this problem first. That one hit home with me because I felt like that for so long of, I have to, in order to be worthy, in order to belong, in order to be good enough, in order to be capable, I have to be perfect. And so all of these that I was feeling literally stemmed from, I need to be perfect. And it wasn't even necessarily like I was a perfectionist. It was like, it just needs to be like, it just needs to flow. It needs to like seem well put together, even if it took like 3 minutes. And so I was constantly trying to fix others, and I kept putting myself down. I kept putting my needs below like everyone else's. And so I just didn't take care of myself because I felt like the only way to be perfect was to fix others. And I was just like, dang, well, okay then. Calling me out. But these core beliefs are things that we truly believe, and they're not good. And she even says that they're not healthy. We need to identify that of this negative self-talk that we have because of the wounds and the lies that we are believing. When we put these false beliefs on ourselves, they become core beliefs, and they become something that we truly believe that we are when we're not. We label ourselves as this, but we're not identifying ourselves in Jesus, and that's where the problem lies. So, to combat false beliefs, the easy way is to believe in truth. And you're probably like, okay, yeah, good job, Charis. Way to go. I knew that. And it's like, okay, yeah. But like, what does that truly mean for us? And so I went through and I mentioned earlier, is that there's no contradiction from the 1500 years that the Bible was written. Like, the Bible was written over thousands of years. And from Genesis to Revelation, they actually have correspondence. But let's be real, these people never talk to each other. These people didn't have email. They didn't have text message. The texts were brought orally through things. Like it's almost like statistically impossible for the Bible to have no contradiction, yet it doesn't. And historians and scientists and so many people have studied the Bible. People who are not Christians, who don't believe it's true, have studied the Bible and I don't know how this is possible. It's because, it's Jesus. It's God. He does the impossible. And that's what the Bible is. And so I think it's so important for us to realize that the way in which the Bible overlaps and the way in which all of it is like one story. It is a whole story. The prophecy, everything. It is one story, and it all ties together. It was written by multiple people, like not just multiple, but like a lot of different people. It's written by a lot of different people who didn't necessarily know each other or even have communication with each other. But it tells the same story. It has the same prophecies. It has the same language. It has all of this. Why? Because it is God inspired. And inspired just means like God breathed. God breathed this. This is his word. And he gave the words for the people to write this. It wasn't the people writing. And that's something I always pray for before I speak or before I do the podcast or anything, is like, Lord, let it not be my words. Please just speak through me. And there have been times where I will say something or I will go on a tangent or things will just come to me like that. And I'm just sitting. It's like an out of body experience almost. I'm just sitting there. I'm just like, I'm just as shocked as everybody else. Because why? The Holy Spirit will speak through you. God will use the Holy Spirit to speak through you. And that is what he did with these people. And it's just, I think it's so crazy. Like when you look at when you just look at what the Bible is and not even on a religious standpoint, it's absolutely insane. And so we also must rewire our brains to believe what Jesus has for us. No matter what we can do for ourselves, because that will only lead to destruction. And I think it's just important for us to continue to dive into what the Bible has and what Jesus has for us and the truth that Jesus speaks. Because if the Bible is true and the Bible continues to be true and science cannot disprove it, other people cannot disprove it, if we truly believe that the Bible is true and it cannot be disproved, we need to look at what Jesus has for us and what the Bible says about us. And that way we can truly believe the truth. Because we might be like, oh yeah, I believe it's true, but we don't necessarily believe the truth. I feel like that's a lot. You can believe it's true, but you don't necessarily believe it's truth. So I have some verses, some little passages. Most of them are Proverbs. Half of them are Proverbs. They're just 4. But I think it's so good, and I'm gonna read them, and then I dissected them just a little bit and gave you a little blurb about each one, and I think it's so important for us to remember. So the first one is Psalm 25:5, which this time I did actually sticky note everything, and this one I put 4 in here as well because I think it's just really good. And it starts with, and it said, and Psalms was written by David, and so he was a poet. All these are songs. They're great, but it's starting in verse 4. He says, "Make me to know your ways, O Lord. Teach me your paths. Lead me in your truth and teach me, for you are the God of my salvation. For you I wait all the day long." And so I think it's important to, when we look at these 2 verses, what David is saying is, despite the moral virtues and circumstances of life, the Lord wants us to follow and choose him. Not just follow, but choose him. He is truth. And when our eyes are set on the Lord, we can't believe anything about ourselves or others that God doesn't believe about us or them. When we follow Jesus, it is hard for us to believe the lies. When we have our eyes set on something, that is what we do. And so I gave this to one of my girls that we did. Again, I think this was from God because I don't know how I came up with this. I didn't. It was Jesus. I was like, put your hand out there, hold it out, palm facing you, palm not. And so I was like, put it out there and look straight in the middle of your palm. What do you see? And she's like, well, my palm. I was like, okay. Well, I see my right now, I see my rings, I see my bracelets, I see my TV behind, I see my podcast setup, I see my mic, I see my Bible, I see the door. She goes, oh. I was like, now bring it in really closely and look at where, what can you see? And she goes, I just see my palm. I was like, exactly. So we need to have Jesus right here. We don't even have him right out here, at a distance. It's okay, yeah, that dude's cool. No, we need to have him, we need to only see him. And if we can, the way we can only see him is if we have him close to us. And we have to choose to bring him close. He's not going to leave us, but he's not going to force us to be close. And so we have to be able to, in order to believe the truth, we have to have Jesus close to us. He can be the only one that we look at. He can be the only thing that we look at and truly go to for, the the thing that we can truly only trust all the time, because he's not going to fail and he's not going to lie to us. And that's something that we're trying to combat. And so, yes. The next one is Proverbs 12, 17, and 19. We're not reading 18, but I guess we could. It's good. But so Proverbs 12:17 says, "Whoever speaks the truth gives honest evidence, but a false witness utters deceit." And then verse 19 says, "Truthful lips endure forever, but a lying tongue is but for a moment." And these two verses are basically just saying the truth will be known and will last forever, while lies and false beliefs are deceitful and evil. And so, yeah, we don't like we always say the truth will come out eventually. Yeah, it will. It will. The truth will come out eventually. And usually that's because the liar, the deceit is gone, is out of here, dead. And so I think it's important for us to realize that we have to profess truth, because lies are deceitful and they are evil. And being a false witness utters deceit, that's, I don't know, that hit home for me. It just was like, oh, okay, no, I need to constantly be giving honest evidence, and not just with my words, but with my actions, with the way I look at people, the inner thoughts, with my prayers. You can't really lie to God, but we still try to. And we don't give him the whole truth, or we just give him the good parts. It's he knows us. So we need to continue to speak truth, because if we can't speak truth to God, who knows the truth, we can't speak truth to others. We can't show truth to others. We can't show the love. And we just have to continue to keep that in our minds. And it takes time. It takes practice. And it takes practice in order to make it a discipline. We can't just wake up one day and it's fine. So the next one is Proverbs 30 verse 5. Put it that way. And I've used this one before. Maybe I haven't used this one. I used this one in a message that I spoke about just speaking truth. And it says, every word of God proves true. He is a shield to those who take refuge in him. And then I'm going to add verse 6, and says, do not add to his words, lest he rebuke you and you be found a liar. And this one is just saying that God does not lie. And he gave the words for it. It is God's word, the Bible, is God's words speaking to us, and therefore it cannot lie. There is no flaw or problem with it. Other than that, it is true. And we see that because the truth offends people, and the Bible offends people because it speaks truth into their life. I think I wrote this really weirdly, but I think we don't like to talk about the Bible. We don't like to talk about the Bible and how it's true, because the truth does offend people. And I think that's just another way to prove the Bible is true, and we need to believe it. Because when the scientist, how he said that truth is better and that the truth hurts, though, when we believe if the truth does hurt, the Bible is going to hurt people, it's just going to call them out, and they're going to feel hurt from it. It's going to be convicting, because it's truth. And so it's why are we continuing to deny something that's true? It's because it's convicting. It hurts us a little bit, because it makes us not perfect. It destroys that belief of I need to be perfect. It destroys the belief of I am not, I need to be worthy, or I'm not good enough, because the Bible continues to tell us we're not, but Jesus is. And so we look at all the parts in the Bible of saying we look in all the parts of the Bible that says, I'm not good enough, I'm not this, humans fail, humans blah, 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 humans are evil, blah, 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 blah. When we forget, and we don't even get to the part where it's but you don't have to be, Jesus is. We stop reading because we get so, up in arms about, how, they're calling me out, blah, 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 they're calling me a bad person. It's but you aren't. You are a bad person, but Jesus isn't. And so you don't have to continue to live like this. We don't even get to the good part because we're so hurt with the bad. And that's what happens with the truth, is we hear the truth and we get all up in arms and we put up these walls and we live in a false reality because we don't even want to believe it, but we don't even get to the good part. It's okay, bad news or good news. I always say bad news first because I'd rather end on the good news. But we don't even get to the good news. We don't even get to Jesus. And so it's so hard for people, I think, to truly believe the Bible. What it says is because it calls you out. It tells you you're not a good person, and we don't want to believe that. We don't want to put our trust in someone who is a good person because we know it's true. And we don't want to believe that about ourselves. And so we just deny it. We ignore it. And that is a problem. And like, I've done it. I know I've done it. And I know other people do. I have friends who do. I have family who does. Like, it is hard. It is hard to watch someone believe the lies and feel so hurt from the Bible and the church, but not even look to Jesus. It is so hard to do that. But that's why we have to continue to speak truth. And we have to show love. And accepting is not affirming. From the great philosopher Ali Yost. Like, we cannot, we feel like we have to be conformed. And we don't conform to the world. We conform to like what the word says. And it's hard. And it kind of calls out the messy parts of us. And we don't like that. So, moving on, is to John 14:6. And this one is a pretty well-known verse. I'm pretty sure everyone has heard it. And if not, like, you've heard it in some sense. And it says, Jesus said to him, I am the way and the truth and... Oh my gosh, let me restart. Jesus said to him, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. I'm going to continue in verse 7 that says, if you had known me, and you would have known my Father also. From now on, you do know him and have seen him. And this verse, or verses, is just talking about Jesus is the only way. And through him, we find real and honest truth that gives us freedom. Even if it upsets us in the process, it calls us out that we are not perfect. And we don't always like that, but it's the truth. And a lot of times we feel like when the Bible calls us out, it puts us in a box. And I talked about this with lies. And it's like, no, it's just a piece of it. It's just process. And sanctification is a process that takes your entire life. And it's like, okay, I feel like God has sanctified me a lot more in this area. It's like, okay, but now we're going to move to this area. And there have been so many times, like at the beginning of the summer, I felt like I was just being spiritually isolated from everyone. And it wasn't necessarily the fact that it was like I was separating myself from God. It was just like I was having to separate myself from everyone else who was hurting me spiritually. Like, I had to go through, I'm going to say like a spiritual drought, not necessarily a spiritual drought, but it's like I had to be separated from everyone for a little bit. I had to feel alone in order to know who I am in Jesus even more. Like, it grew me, and it was hard, and I didn't know why it was happening, and I still don't know why it happened, but I feel like I've come out of it a whole lot better, a whole lot stronger, and just like in a whole nother way, that's really hard to explain, but it's something that I truly believe the Lord allowed me to go through, almost like a test or a trial, but it strengthened my faith. It made me like more steadfast, and it continued to, it helped shape my prayer life a whole lot more, which was really struggling at that moment. And so it brought me different books. It brought me different resources that I never would have even turned to if I didn't go through that. And so I know, like, yeah, it was hard and it was difficult. And I thought it was going to last the whole summer, and it lasted maybe a month. But it allowed me to draw near to him and really allow me to see that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. And that everything I need has to go through him. I have to go through him. Like, he is my entire provider. And I am so grateful. I just feel so much closer and like more intimate with the Lord. And that was something I'd been praying for. And I didn't necessarily realize until I listened to an episode of Christ with Coffee on Ice, where it's like, if you pray like you want to be more intimate with Christ, like, get ready, because you're about to go through it. And I was like, I am. And I did. And it was hard on my friends. It was hard on my family. It was hard on me. There were just so many things happening, and it was difficult. But I know that from what I had read and from everything, like, it was true that the Lord has me, that God's got me, and that I was able to get through it. And I became so much more like intimate and like grew my relationship in ways that I didn't necessarily even think about. And there are still things I'm having to struggle with, you could say, or like work through, and just like different questions. And a lot of it's just different theology, because I feel like I'm growing in my doctrine and theology, and just really looking at what that has and what that says, because it's not something I like have been taught all the time. Like I have like just learning the different theological standpoints and the different doctrines of different religions, and just like continuing to deepen like why mine is true, because I've had that question, like how do you know this is true? How do you know this is one true? And I think it's because it's like the Bible is truth. There is no contradiction. There's no contradiction. And it's also the only religion that talks about relationship, that has a relationship with Jesus. Everything else is based on works. But Christianity and what the Bible says is it's all about faith and works. Obviously, you have your works because you need that. But it's not all about it. It's a relationship-based religion. And that's something that I've had to struggle with. But I feel like that is so true. And we are afraid of that. And so we deny it, and we believe other things because of it. It was a little tangent. But all in all, the truth hurts, but Jesus sanctifies, and we learn to love the truth. I love the truth. I love to be called out. Like, please call me out. Please, like, slap me straight. Because I know I need it. And it's something that I really truly believe is good. Let me see. I want to also say, don't believe the lies. Believe the truth that Jesus gives us. And that's where our identity is found. Like, do not label yourself as something less than or other than what Jesus says, because he is truth and he will tell us. And so I want to read a quote that really has got me thinking, and I've used this before, not on the podcast in a message that I spoke, but I think it just goes into how we, especially in today's world, I feel like we live in so many things like create your own reality, and we feel like we can create our own spiritual reality, and it's all about us creating it instead of us like finding it through Jesus. And we believe these things that are false on a spiritual sense. And I feel like that is so much more harming because we believe the wrong things. We believe the demonic things, the things that look good. We believe the world. We believe the lies and that come from the enemy. Like that is literally trying to kill, steal, and destroy you. And so Tim Keller, great author. He was a pastor in New York. Like this dude, amazing. This is a great book. If you're really into like basic apologetics and learning how to defend your faith, it's The Reason for God. And I haven't finished it, but as I've been going through it, he's given me some good questions. And so I kind of want to end on this question, and almost like as a charge or a challenge for you to answer it in your own personal life and how to go about it. So he says, it's on page 47 in the chapter of Christianity is a straitjacket. That's one of the arguments. But he goes, instead of insisting on freedom to create spiritual reality, shouldn't we be seeking to discover it and disciplining ourselves to live according to it? I'm going to read it again, and I'm not going to really go into it, but I just want us to really soak it in and be able to think about this. And it goes, instead of insisting on freedom to create spiritual reality, shouldn't we be seeking to discover it and disciplining ourselves to live according to it? Are we ready to live according to the truth, the spiritual truth of the Bible and what Jesus says? If not, how do you get there? Well, I charge y'all with that. Answer that question for yourself. I think, I don't know how to continue on, but we're just going to end there. Thank y'all for listening so much. Thank you for taking some time to slow down. I know this is definitely a longer episode, but we're really getting into the nitty-gritty of it, and it's really starting to combine the integrate Christianity and psychology together. So yeah, thank y'all for tuning in. Please, like, if you have any questions, I'm gonna put the links in the bio or in the description of this episode, so that if you want to go buy the book, or if you want to go watch some of the stuff that I also watched or read in order to kind of prepare for this, go look at that. If you have any questions, please reach out. Share this with a friend. And yeah. But anyways, again, thank y'all so much. It's crazy. We're already on the 4th. We're already halfway through Identity Crisis. We have 3 more. And so we're just going to continue on. We're just going to keep pursuing Jesus. And so I don't know what you'll have this week. I don't know what y'all got going on, but I want you to remember that you matter. Jesus loves you, and God's got y'all. I'll see y'all next week. Bye, y'all.